Welcome to today's Explainer. Okay, we're literally going to dive right into this one. Today, we're unpacking the absolutely fascinating hidden world of science and engineering that keeps our public pools, water parks, and spas safe. You know, when you jump into a pool on a hot summer day, you probably aren't thinking about fluid dynamics, microbiology, or complex chemical equations, right? But as you're going to see, there is a massive, invisible infrastructure working overtime right beneath your feet just to protect your health. We're going to explore the 2023 Model Aquatic Health Code, or the MAHC, to see exactly how all this magic happens.
Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, a changing aquatic landscape. Second, hidden hazards in the water. Third, enter the MAHC. Fourth, the science of safe water. And finally, designing for public health. Let's get to it.
Section 1. A changing aquatic landscape. We're starting our journey by looking at exactly how public swimming has evolved over the years. There's such a wild contrast that makes this whole topic so fascinating. On one side, you have all that front-of-house joy. You know, bathers relaxing, exercising, just enjoying the huge physical and psychosocial benefits of being in the water. But then, on the flip side, you have the back-of-house engineering. It's this absolute maze of filtration tanks, pumps, and miles of piping. That highly technical, hidden infrastructure is absolutely mandatory to maintain those pristine conditions you see on the surface. And hey, it's not just your standard rectangular community pools anymore. The modern code has to cover a really vast, diverse array of specialized aquatic venues. We're talking about lazy rivers, dedicated surf pools that generate actual rideable breaking waves, therapy pools for medical rehab, and even those sensory deprivation flotation tanks filled with magnesium sulfate. Every single one of these venues has its own unique engineering, temperature, and safety demands that have to be rigorously managed.
Moving right along to Section 2, hidden hazards in the water.
Now, as these aquatic venues grew in popularity and complexity, so did some pretty startling public health threats. More people spending more time in the water unfortunately brought new challenges right to the surface. While we definitely always want to celebrate the joy and health benefits of swimming, we really have to balance that against some serious hidden risks. The data actually points to substantial increases in reports of recreational water-associated outbreaks since the mid-1990s. And beyond pathogens, we're also looking at the severe realities of thousands of emergency department visits every single year for pool chemical injuries, plus, of course, the ever-present tragedy of drowning.
So, what's driving this increase in outbreaks? A major culprit is a nasty little parasite called Cryptosporidium. It releases what's called an oocyst. Basically, that's a thick-walled, super environmentally resistant structure. Think of it like a protective armor shell, which makes Cryptosporidium highly resistant to standard chlorine levels. It can literally survive for days in a properly treated pool. This completely changed the game for how we have to approach water disinfection.
The absolutely crucial point here is that when these hidden hazards get out of control, whether we're talking about a chemical imbalance, a broken drain cover, or a pathogen outbreak, they cross a very specific regulatory threshold. They become an imminent health hazard. What does that mean? It means there's a substantial threat requiring immediate correction or, frankly, the complete shutdown of the facility to prevent injury or illness. There's no, yeah, we'll fix it tomorrow when an imminent health hazard is identified. It's a stop-everything kind of deal. Section 3, enter the MAHC. To combat these complex, growing threats, public health officials realized the old rules just weren't cutting it anymore. They needed a comprehensive, science-backed solution. This definitely wasn't an overnight fix. The evolution of aquatic regulation has been a really long journey, starting with early CDC operational manuals way back in 1959. Fast forward to 2001, and they launched the Healthy Swimming Program. But it was in 2014 that the very first edition of the Model Aquatic Health Code was finally born to provide unified, voluntary guidance based on hard science. And what we're exploring today is the absolute latest and most advanced iteration, the 2023 release of the 4th edition. I really want to emphasize that this code isn't just bureaucratic red tape created in a vacuum. No way. It represents a monumental, unprecedented 7-year initial collaboration. It brings together the CDC, the Council for the Model Aquatic Health Code, local and state health officials, academic researchers, and the aquatic sector itself. It's a living, breathing document regularly updated to reflect the absolute latest advances in engineering and public health. All right, Section 4, the science of safe water. Let's decode the secret language of aquatics and look at the invisible chemistry that actually protects you. The absolute hero of our story here is free available chlorine, or FAC. This is the uncombined portion of chlorine in the water that is, well, freely available to hunt down and destroy contaminants. It's primarily present as hypochlorous acid, and this is your active, highly effective biocide. Bottom line, when you want a pool to be safe, you absolutely want a strong, healthy residual of free available chlorine actively patrolling the water.
However, there's kind of a dark side to this chemistry. When that free chlorine does its job and reacts with bather waste, things like sweat, dirt, or urine, it forms combined available chlorine. Specifically, it forms compounds called chloramines. And surprisingly, chloramines are actually much less effective at sanitizing. Plus, they are the real culprits behind that strong, harsh pool smell and those red, irritated eyes you sometimes get. So a strong-smelling pool doesn't actually mean it has too much chlorine. It usually means it has way too much combined chlorine. So how do operators defeat these irritating chloramines? Well, they use a fascinating, heavy-duty chemical process called breakpoint chlorination. To fix the water, they actually have to add more chlorine, specifically about 10 times the amount of combined chlorine that's present. Hitting this exact breakpoint causes a massive reaction that essentially burns off those nasty chloramine compounds, converting them into completely harmless nitrogen gas that just escapes into the air. Pretty cool, right? But as you can imagine, maintaining this incredibly delicate chemical balance isn't something you can just set and forget. It requires the constant vigilance of qualified operators actively testing the water chemistry multiple times a day. They have to ensure the pH is perfectly balanced so the chlorine can actually do its job, while also making sure the water doesn't become corrosive or scale-forming. These folks are basically the unsung scientists of your summer vacation. Finally, Section 5, Designing for Public Health. Let's shift our focus from the microscopic chemistry over to the massive physical engineering required. We're talking about what has to happen before a single drop of water even enters the pool basin. The code mandates incredibly detailed design plans that must be submitted and approved by the authority having jurisdiction long before a single ounce of concrete is poured. They don't just dig a hole and fill it with a garden hose. They are building highly specialized, structurally stable water containment systems. This rigorous design report process happens in very distinct phases. First, the engineers must record the exact intended operating conditions, right down to the space humidity and the water temperature. Then they have to map out every single venue attribute, every inlet, overflow gutter, and drain. They submit exact schematics for the recirculation system just to guarantee the water turnover rate is fast enough. And finally, they design safe equipment rooms and chemical storage spaces to ensure dangerous oxidizing chemicals are totally isolated and handled securely. This whole process is a strict, mathematical blueprint for public health. And built into those blueprints are incredible engineering controls, like the Safety Vacuum Release System, or SVRS. The suction power of a commercial pool pump is astonishingly strong. If a drain becomes blocked, say by a bather, it creates a high vacuum occurrence that can lead to a catastrophic entrapment accident. The SVRS is an invisible mechanical lifesaver that instantly senses that vacuum spike and completely releases the suction, preventing a total tragedy. But even with the most advanced pipes, pumps, and chemical sensors in the world, engineering alone just isn't enough. The code heavily emphasizes the human element. It mandates strict staffing requirements, thorough training protocols, and incredibly detailed emergency action plans. It outlines the specific qualifications for lifeguards and lifeguard supervisors, ensuring that well-trained, alert professionals are always ready to respond the exact second things go wrong. Which brings us to our final thought for today's explainer. Knowing the massive, hidden world of science, collaboration, and intense engineering required to keep you safe, how is your perspective going to change the next time you step onto the deck of your community pool or local water park? The next time you take a swim, take a brief moment to look past that sparkling blue surface and appreciate the incredible public health infrastructure operating right beneath your feet. Thanks for joining us today, and keep learning.